Welcome to the Exit Rich podcast, where the leading authority on buying, selling, fixing, and growing companies, Michelle Seiler Tucker, is dedicated to helping you find the path to retire rich and move on to your next adventure by exiting your business for the desired dream price you deserve. Get ready to exit rich with your host, Michelle Seiler Tucker.
Hello, my very good friend, Bill Stierle. Boy, are you a sight for sore eyes.
It's been a long time. Michelle. Happy to be here.
I miss you. I miss you so much. All right. So all of my listeners, all of our followers, welcome to another episode of Exit Rich with my very good friend, Bill Stierle, who I love and adore. And Bill is a communications expert, an international communications specialist and high conflict mediator. I tell you, Bill, we probably now need a conflict resolution mediator, communication expert now more than ever before because our nation is so divided.
Yep, and there's a way back, Michelle. We could get there from here. It's going to take us a little work, but we could get there. Yes, we do need that next level of support to get communication to take place better.
How do we go about, let me just hit you with the toughest question.
Sure, please do. I'll take it.
I wouldn't give it to you if I knew you couldn't handle it. So how do we solve this world crisis? I mean, we are so divided right now, more so than I think ever before. How do we get past this division to, build our nation and come together? How do we do that, Bill?
Well, the question how it is really important because it is going to take a set of steps to get there from here. The first thing is to do a better job of creating an understanding for where the other person is coming from, but more importantly is to build a mutual connection between me and this other person and not let it to get to be so adversarial. Even at the most difficult issues, we've got to be able to stare them down a little bit and go like, this is hard, this is painful, but we can discuss our way through this.
Well, when we have millions and billions of people in the world that can't really agree upon anything, how can we come together as a country? How can we, mend the fences basically and repair ourselves and just come together as a nation? I mean, I've never seen US so divided before.
Yeah, well, it does look confusing and it does feel overwhelming to have clarity about what the path is and how does harmony and peace show back. The first step in that process is to find the common need that we're talking about with the person. So if we're talking about, like, let's say the need for fairness and the need for fairness in regards to taxes, now all of a sudden, notice I put two words next to each other, fairness and taxes. Now all of a sudden we can have an open dialogue is because
that's an oxymoron.
We have a yes, and many people experience of that because then they say, well, it's not only fair, it's also not just. Now we can see where the escalation is going to take place is now of a sense of just, well, how is it legally? Well, it's legal, but it's not, here it comes, in integrity or in ethics with a country that's trying to work in collaboration together. Because collaboration is going to get us there. Cooperation will get us there. A heightened individualism or a identity politics will not get us there. So we've got to be able to do a better job of looking at those things and say, yeah, it's important to have an identity, but it is not as valuable as collaboration and cooperation. And you know this better than most when you're getting two groups of people, a buyer and a seller, in a room together. If you don't get some qualities of collaboration or cooperation or give and take that takes place in that room, you're not going to be able to drive the number up or down the way you need to.
Right.
You got to get them at least thinking it's in both of our best interest to get to the finish line at this.
Right.
And that's been one of your superpowers for a lot of years, is be able to assess that both numerically as well as from a vision standpoint. You can see what both parties need to get there and what the real value is, and kind of cut through the crap.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
that's
I would say that's probably one of my biggest strengths is negotiations and knowing what each side wants and what each side is willing to give and what each side's not willing to give on.
right. Right.
So, did you watch the debate last night?
I did. Thanks for asking. I did. I
So,
did.
who was there a winner in your mind?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, there were some winning things that took place, but the thing that I would like people to hear is that it's the first time that we've ever seen a president that had expertise in marketing and selling. And one of the things that I do is I specialize in communication. No wrong or right. There's no political piece in this at all. It's that what are the words that are coming out of the person's mouth in order to engender the connection or enroll the vote or to get the sale. And there are 3 specific narratives that are needed.
Okay.
3. And Trump is an expert in these 3 narratives.
So, what are the 3?
That's what I like to hear. So I can, as also as the people that I train, point out sentence over sentence how he just moves between these 3 things.
Okay.
Part of it is conscious, part of it is not conscious because he's been doing it for so long. Okay. The first step is there's got to be a clear and present reward that meets 3 to 5 needs of the listener, not 7, but only 3 to 5 needs.
Okay. Good to know.
So if the reward is, if the narrative is build the wall, that's the need for protection, the need for safety, and the need for financial security with jobs. As the listener is hearing it.
Gotcha.
The listener is hearing it, there's a reward.
Okay.
Step 2, anticipation. Anticipation is I am going to tell you how wonderful it'll be when that thing I just promised you is going to take place. In fact, it's going to be the best wall. It's going to be the most wonderful wall. It's going to be the best wall ever. It's going to be the longest. It's going to be the strongest. Nobody can climb this wall. That's called an anticipatory narrative. Now, these 3 steps that we're talking about right now, what they do physiologically in the body is build dopamine up. It's what's needed in, here it comes, in the sales process, in a marketing narrative, and at the beginning of a teacher lesson to a group of students. I need to say, this is the good reason why to learn why to dissect a frog. Here's what you're going to magically discover when you're doing this frog. And then finally, the 3rd step.
Like, here's why you need to read Exit Rich. Well, here's what you're going to learn when you read Exit Rich. Here's how it's going to benefit your life when you sell your business.
Now watch this. Let me give you another sentence here to sell your book here. Watch this. Can you imagine what it would be like to read Exit Rich and be in the financial position where you didn't need to worry about money from age 60 on? Now, what I just did is I put a timestamp on it from age 60 on. Well, I'm coming up on 60, or I'm not 60 yet, but I sure want to know what's going on there. Or I passed 60. I better get that book now because I'm running out of time. You see I've just created a lot of anticipatory energy around your book, because the brain is, and the body is interested in it's not anticipation boosts dopamine. It's the anticipatory energy of getting it that makes the difference. Gotcha. Not the reward. The banana doesn't work. The ice cream doesn't work unless I say the following sentence.
Right.
Michelle, imagine a bowl of your favorite ice cream in front of you that has 2 scoops and there's a spoon ready for you to eat. Can you imagine what it would be like? And with that, I'm not sure if you could afford it, but the special brand of that ice cream is this. Now, I just introduced a thing called uncertainty, and that's the third step.
Okay.
And the third step of uncertainty is I want to create a sentence of uncertainty so that the person stays on the hook, that they can only get it from me and they cannot get it from the other candidate. It's uncertain because I can do it, but you know what? They can't do it.
Right. So Trump did all three. He delivered on all three steps.
He did multiple times with multiple subjects.
So what about Biden? How do you think he did?
He did stronger from the place of a thing called setting the vision. And also to meet the need for stability, which I think people are going to crave for, are craving for right now. We're actually getting a little tired of the tweet anticipation, tweet reward, tweet uncertainty, tweet this. And the media regrettably follows those things and then retweets them back or says, this is what the president is saying. Is this what a president is saying? So see, Trump is selling and marketing all the time with every sentence. And he's only marketing and selling the topics he wants to market and sell.
And I've been saying that from day one, that there's a method to his madness, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
He's been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it in a very similar way. That's to say, this is the thing that's really valuable to you, the listener. Whether I'm going to deliver it or not, I'm not actually going to be accountable for that. In fact, he's even said those kinds of sentences before. Yeah, the pandemic, it's not on me. It was on those guys. They're the one let it out. It's like, wait a minute. There's a lot of gap between here and there of accountability. But accountability and sales is on the front part of sales is not necessarily there, because Michelle, you and I have bought things that did not deliver, or even have bought things that we didn't even use, or even have bought things that were not up to the value that we paid for them.
Amen.
Because of these 3 steps.
Right.
Because
so Biden did not incorporate those 3 steps at all in his
not as much
delivery.
No, he had a few of them this, and there was ways that he could have included those. If I was his coach, I could have taught him how to put certain sentences.
Maybe he should call you.
You know, I am interest from your mouth to, you know, his ear, you know, it's like,
so in your opinion, the true winner last night was Trump, because he delivered on the 3 steps.
He delivered on the 3 steps, which creates the thing that you actually, you don't want when somebody is buying you, but you do want when somebody is refusing someone else. And that's called creating a climate of doubt and skepticism.
Gotcha.
See, those 2 emotions, doubt and skepticism, really kill the sale. So, and those 2 feeling words are directly related to 2 need words that are so valuable during the sales process and during the voting process too. And there's a direct relationship between the feeling of doubt and the need for truth.
Gotcha.
So truth causes doubt.
Okay.
Real or imagined. Real or imagined.
Everybody else, you know, that's commented on it thinks it was a bloodbath, and they think there were no true winners that came out of it last night. But you say, you know, according to the 3 steps, Trump delivered better.
He delivered better than Biden did.
Gotcha.
And on those three steps, and those three steps are what is needed during the sales process and the marketing process. So he's going to deliver that. And what he did is create doubt and skepticism with the thing he kept repeating, which was, you didn't do anything for 47 years.
Mm.
And Biden didn't have a response for that. And the response isn't, here's the list of things that I did. That's not actually how to win that battle.
How do you win that battle?
Here's what you say back. So I'm guessing you're feeling doubtful and skeptical. And your truth is that I didn't do anything for 47 years. Is that what your truth is? Now, Trump has to say yes. Now Biden has control of the word truth right now. Now Biden can insert anything he wants, which would sound like this. The truth is, our nation is not stable right now, and I can provide stability right now, and you can't. Holy crap. Now all of a sudden, it's now back on Biden's side because Trump is not meeting the need for stability in the marketplace.
You think, they have all the money in the world and all the resources in the world. You think they would practice and learn this stuff that you teach, right?
It's awareness, honey. It's
awareness.
Yeah, people don't have awareness. People, that the thing is, Michelle, and you and I are going to laugh a whole bunch as soon as I say this. It's like people treat communication as the way they treat a driver's license. Like, I have a driver's license, I'm a good driver. I'm a good communicator. It's like, no. Just because you speak doesn't mean you're a good communicator. And just because you have a license does not mean you're a good driver. It's like people have an ownership of communication because people will say that they communicate very well.
Right.
And from a general sense, they're putting words in the environment. But as far as communicating well, not so much so.
I think most people are not good communicators.
They are not. They are not.
So let's transition, because I think the
Sure.
world would be a better place if people could learn how to communicate more effectively.
That's right. That's right. If I'm gonna, follow the lead of your book, Exit Rich, right? If I'm gonna do that, that means I am pursuing financial security, of which I know what a number is, of what that word rich actually means to me. I have stability, mostly on the passive income piece. I don't have to do anything for it. And there's a revenue that is covering all the things that I would like to see in my world. And the third thing I want to see, and you can imagine this when this takes place, is that I have a clarity that my belief structures are not going to sabotage my richness. See,
that's a very good point.
People's belief structure sabotage because they have an association with the word rich that is not a strong association with the word rich. Rich to me means stable, consistent, has the ability to have some affluence to it. I have some freedom on how I can spend. That's over and above my stability piece. So if I have that, my life is really rich. I am rich because the number is a little irrelevant. This is when you and I could start laughing a lot. The number is irrelevant to the beliefs mindset of, you know what, I'm doing pretty good. I don't need much more than this one really expensive, nice car, or these two different houses or whatever. I don't need much more than that. And by the way, what I do with this time is I spend it on family. I work on this problem. I'm contributing to this community. I'm working with my church.
Right.
And I have the stability financially to do that for my entire life, no matter what the catastrophic thing that may show up, including that pesky thing called death that shows up at the end. I'm feeling pretty good about it because the richness is meeting multiple needs, and this is what this money is paying for. Enriching my family. I'm stabilizing them. I'm bringing my belief structure solid. And that's what's a good thing about your book, right? It's about, here's a way to believe and think about your exit strategy. And And for your listeners, you can imagine what they would be like
Yeah.
when they have that in their hand.
Well, and let me tell you, exiting rich beats the alternative because unfortunately, so many business owners are exiting poor. And they're
Right.
not only losing their business assets, but they're losing their family assets too.
Right.
So exiting rich it can mean different things to different people. It could mean, hey, my bills are paid.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
I'm out of debt. I have $2 million in debt. And because I sold my business, I am now debt free. So there's so many different things
That's
it
right.
could mean. I do
Thank you.
want to transition because you and I met for the very first time at CEO Space. And of course, we, have shared the stage together at many different conferences. But I remember I was in one of your classes and you were talking about colors and how different colors represents different people's personalities and
Right.
their values and the way they do things, etc. So can we transition into colors and talk to our audience
Absolutely.
a little bit about that?
Absolutely. If the audience would be willing to take out a sheet of paper, I'm going to dump a whole bunch of really good information, or just replay this back several different times because
Yes.
this is really, really
And
valuable.
I hope people are listening on Facebook. Please comment. Please add.
Comment,
We love
please.
Bill in your comments. Go
Thank
ahead
you.
and
I
add who
appreciate
you
that.
think won the presidential debate. And most importantly, if you have any questions, put that in there too, and we'll make sure we answer your questions.
So if I want to exit rich and I want to build a team, I want to look at 7 key members or covering 7 key attributes of my business. 7.
7, not 3.
Not 3, 7 key attributes.
Okay.
All right. So it depends on the size of the business, but if you get these 7 things down and you have expertise in these 7 places, things really go much easier for you. Now, you could be one of the roles of the 7, or you could be the owner or the employer of those 7 people.
Okay.
So now all of a sudden I'm positioning to, well, who are these 7 people? Who are these 7 executives? Well, if I, as Michelle was bringing up, the people that are really good with finances and financial analytical thinking, the color cards that Michelle was mentioning, that's an example of a blue card that thinks rational, analytical, and that's like a CFO. So in business, I want my CFO to do a really good job of numbers, the accounting piece for sure, but also lend their skills to look at projections. What's my 30? What's my 60? What's my 90 day? What's in the pipeline of my sales? What am I looking for? How much of this sales is stable over the next year or the next 2 or the next 5? Because there's clients, Michelle, that you and I have worked with for years because they see that that's a stable piece of, hanging around with us and gathering wisdom, knowledge, and experience. Okay. So the blue card is the CFO or financial person.
Do you remember, Bill, what colors I were?
I am. And I'm going to get to that in a second. I remember
Okay. I didn't
exactly
even
what
know
your
if you
colors.
remembered.
I do.
Mine
That's
was, I think mine was quite unique if I remember correctly.
You did have some uniqueness to you. The way you move through the world is really, really wonderful, unique.
All right. So blue is the CFO. Okay.
CFO. All right. So now I need somebody to handle, let's say, the vision part of it, the marketing part of it. And my marketing card is like a yellow card. This is the person that is looking for eyeballs and trying to find, who am I going to enlist to get into this, to the function of sales, but they've got to market to it. And that's the yellow card. And the marketing, the VP of marketing, is the second role. So you got these 2 different roles. I got my finance person looking at my spreadsheets, and I got my marketing person looking at my strategic plan. Here's what my marketing rollout is going to be. You're going to give me $10 and I'm going to give you back $100 for that $10. Every $10 you give me, I'm giving you back $100. Every $10 you're giving me, I'm giving you back $1,000. That's a better marketing plan. You see what I mean? So you're spending money to get eyeballs so that you're driving money into the third position, which is going to be the red card, which is the VP of sales.
Mm.
The VP of sales is the person that the marketing person hands those leads to, because the salesperson needs to be more interpersonal. They need to
Gotcha.
talk to the person and then get a check. Talk nicely, pick up a check. Talk nicely, pick up a check. That's
And
what
sales is very different than marketing.
it is. Very different than marketing. You
Right.
never want those two things to collapse. This
Okay.
one is gathering eyeballs, and the other one is talking to those eyeballs. Okay.
Right. Closing the
Now,
deal.
closing the deal. Now, once you close the deal, you need somebody to deliver the product or service. So you need an operations person, and that's the green person.
Mm.
The green person thinks organized, planned, detailed sequence. I want to build a system to distribute the product or service
Mhm.
out to the marketplace, write some procedures about it so that people follow the company policies
Right.
on implementing or mailing out this widget. Now,
Right.
whatever the product
With the policy written with the customer experience in mind. So many owners forget to develop their processes with the client's experience in mind.
wow, you are so making my day, because that is a green red narrative between the salesperson
Mhm.
and the operations person that's delivering this back.
Mm.
All right. So now I've got 4 people. I got my CFO, I've
Mhm.
got my marketing person, I got my salesperson, I've got my operations person. So I got 4.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, I've got to think to myself, well, you know what? I need more people. That means I need talent. Well, who do I need to find talent? That's my VP of human resources.
Mhm.
Human resources is internal sales. I need these people to do their and play in their lane, to do their job, to support these other people.
Right.
They're going to support they're going to support the operations person. I got 2 accountants underneath my CFO. I got 7 marketing people underneath my vice president of marketing. And my sales team has about 20 people in it. And my VP of sales sits on top of that. But my human resources person finds the right person to fit the right slot.
Gotcha.
I got 5.
Okay.
Now, in our modern society, this wouldn't have been true 40 years ago, but it's true today. I need a CTO, a chief technical officer, somebody to handle all the darn computers and
Mhm.
the technology and the internet and any production technological piece. I need that CTO to be, and the website. I need that person to help these other people with their technological challenges.
Okay.
All right.
So that's number 6.
I got
right?
6.
Now, what color is number 5 and 6?
Number 5 was red. So I have 2 people in red.
On
And
red. Okay, so
and
they're going underneath red. Gotcha. Gotcha.
they're in the red quality. And then
Okay.
the CTO is going to be blue, similar to the finance person, but they specialize not in numbers, but they specialize in technology.
I thought they would be under operations under green.
Not as much so.
Wow.
They've
Okay.
got to be able to write code, and code is very mathematical.
Code is numbers.
And
Gotcha.
then, but they do have green as their second color. So that's, your intuition is correct. They need to write code, and code doesn't have to be organized or have like a pile of papers on top of the desk. It actually has to fit in the filing cabinet. Just
Right.
saying, it can't be all over the place. Right. All right.
Okay.
So now I got 6 people. And with these 6 people, I need somebody to communicate between all 6. And that's my CEO that sits in the middle. A CEO is typically a little bit of each of those 4 colors. They have a little bit of blue, they have a little bit of green, they have a little bit of red, they have a little bit of yellow. And their job is to sit in the middle of the spoke of the wheel and let each person know how to collaborate and cooperate between each other.
Right. Gotcha.
Right. So this is the magic 7. So if I want to exit rich and I want to be able to really make this work, if I get these 7 people in place, I can sell this thing.
Yep.
Because this talent knows these different pieces. They know it. They know what their lane is. They know how to execute their lane and their talent. And
Right.
because there's enough procedures that are going on and those procedures are in place, if one of them wants to leave for another opportunity, well, you just have the HR person put somebody back in that spot.
Right.
Now, if the new owner that's buying this, the Magic 7, if the new owner's coming in, the first thing I recommend to the new owner is this: have you secured your talent yet? Have you got them on at least an 18-month contract that they're not moving for 18 months?
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing you want is you buy a company and 3 people leave.
Right. Because, that's number one in the 6 Ps, right? So Exit Rich is all about building a company that operates in all 6 cylinders, all 6 Ps. And the first P is people, which is exactly what you're talking about.
That's correct.
How do people determine what color they are?
Well, there's a lot of different models that are out there. The one I use is an instrument called the Herman Brain Dominance Instrument. It's a Fortune 50 product that was developed at General Electric. And with my, studying with my mentor that developed the tool, it has very strong business vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like using it so much, is that the quality of vocabulary is easy to understand. It doesn't have as much ambiguity in it, and it really does a really great job of celebrating a person's strength and also not getting people arguing about what their frustration are or what they're not good at. I don't want my CFO to be a people person. Really don't. They got to be a people person to 7 people, but other than 7, not as much so. I don't need them to have 50 friends. I need for them to be a really good numbers person and a really good understanding of what their role is in relationship to these other
So
parts.
do you think most people know what they are? Do you think most people already know or not really? Because when I sat in that class with you, there were a lot of people like, really? I'm that color? I have no idea. No, I'm this color. They were arguing about their colors.
They were because for many people, awareness and consciousness is not being find out what my strength is and work in my strength. What most people have been taught is a alternate narrative.
Right.
And the alternate narrative is work on your weakness.
Right.
What I teach is delegate the crap out of your weakness.
Yep. Me too.
Delegate, supervise, delegate, direct.
Don't
delegate,
strengthen your
lead.
weakness. Strengthen
No.
your strengths, right?
Yeah.
And focus on your strengths. So is this similar to the DISC?
It has some similarities to DISC. Okay. It was developed before DISC was developed.
Okay.
And there's some different qualities that's some similar. I tend to use this model more because of the clarity of language, and I enjoy the team analysis piece because literally I know their team better than they do. Okay. Within a matter of seconds. And I've even had that reflected back to me because I did an analysis of a company, and then the board wanted me to present, hey, what's wrong with our company? Tell us about our people. Tell us what's wrong. So what I did is I came in, and for 90 minutes, I said, okay, here's where the levers are, and here's what you need to know to pull. For them, for their part, what they wound up doing is they were able to say, this makes sense. No wonder why we're struggling in this area. And then the next sentence was from one of the board members, Bill, I've been sitting on this board for 4 years. And in 90 minutes, you told me more about the board that I've learned over the last 4 years. And I was going like, it's these tools and instruments can be really leveraged. And
because people have never really been taught how to communicate or taught how to resolve conflict, right?
Right.
Um,
No.
all right. So, any questions out there, guys? No questions yet? Okay. So, everybody should comment what they think their colors are.
Yes.
Well,
So to clarify that, the blue color would be logical, analytical, fact-based, and quantitative,
mhm,
measuring things. The green color card is organized, detailed planning and sequencing, putting things in order
mhm.
versus analyzing things in blue. The red quadrant is interpersonal, feeling-based, kinesthetic, body movement. These are all the dancers and musicians, and emotional. And then
Artist. Mhm,
the artists are going to be yellow, which is
mhm.
creative, conceptual, synthesizing, intuitive,
I have two. I have two
integrative.
yellows sitting in front of me. I think.
Two yellows in front of you. That's right. Now, what gives Michelle, what gives you your unique superpower, and I watch this in real time when you present, is you bring the yellow visionary part of it, the entrepreneurial part of it, and so you can see the entrepreneurial edge, the yellow part, and
Mhm,
you bring it over to blue and analyze the numbers.
mhm,
Now, if it takes a while, because if a person sits down there with you, they're listening to you talk, they hear the yellow visionary part, and they have no idea how skilled you are at looking at the numbers and
mhm.
going there right now. I mean, you just don't waste any time. You go zip, there's the number. and
That's
and
very true.
people go, how did she get that? I'm going like, that's exactly what that yellow blue superpower is that
Yeah.
you have. And then you come to red next, which is your interpersonal skills, which is how you talk to the different people and get them to see the same vision, yellow, that you have, and agree upon the numbers, the blue that you know that is right for this business, or the
Mhm.
value or the valuation of this business.
Mm,
So
awesome.
that's how you run things. And
So
you're
I'm yellow, blue, red.
that's right. You're
No
yellow, blue,
green
red.
because I'm no green.
No, green's
Operation.
green's your fourth.
Okay.
Green's your fourth. It'll melt your brain if you do too much of it. It's called your kryptonite card, you know, because that's when this is what your assistant does for you. This is what this is what schedulers
Yeah.
do. This
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
the procedure people do.
Yeah.
That's the green thing, that they do, and they do that well. And um and it's a way. Green is needed to stabilize a business, and green also, if you do green really well, the value of the business goes up if you do green well.
Absolutely. Because
you know
that's processes. That's
it's
my third P.
processes.
That's my
That's
third P in the six
see,
P's.
you and I, baby. That's right. That's right. That's the third P, is the
Right.
process. You got to have the process in place, or otherwise, you're going to get dinged.
Right.
The new owner can't run the business if there's not a process in place.
Right.
If you gotta be able to tell an employee what to do and hand them a to-do list.
Right.
And it doesn't mean you're taking away their creativity or anything like that. You're trying to empower them to do
Yep.
their role for the organization.
It needs to be systematic, and the
Right.
processes
Right.
need to be documented. So yellow, back to yellow. Yellow's visionary, right?
That's right.
But yellow is also your artists, your musicians.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. You got the
Good.
artists over there. You got some musicians over there that are very creative. And yeah, they do that yellow red thing they do. And
So
that's
I'm yellow first.
you are yellow first. Just a little bit, but you're blue. Don't nobody mistake that she can go blue, and she'll just zip right over there and just go like, well, I'm not sure if the numbers are really working on there. Let me see that spreadsheet. This numbers, you've done this too.
Is that true, chaps?
You'll come in front. You've been in a meeting, I swear, and everybody's gonna start laughing. Michelle will sit in a meeting and start looking at the spreadsheet and just go, take her finger, go like, this number's not quite right.
Yeah.
This
I
is
do it
not
all the time on a daily basis.
this is not this. This is she just zip right there to the spot. Oh my gosh, that's a superpower.
And then red is cells. Okay.
Cells. You got to sell. You got to connect with
Yep.
people. People got to get a sense that you're going to have their best interest partly in mind,
Of
partly.
course.
And it's got to be partly like 51%. It doesn't have to be partly 75%. They just got to get a sense that this person is seeing that this thing will benefit me.
Right. Agreed.
And if they see that it's benefiting them, then the purchase is a lot easier. It's
So
more effective.
so one of the biggest one of the biggest issues I see in businesses is employers will say, Michelle, I tell employees to do this and they do that. They do the exact, I even have that happen in my own company. They do the exact opposite of what you tell them to do. And you and I have talked about this in the past. So why is it that an employer is communicating one set of directions, instructions, and an employee hears something different and does something different?
So
And that's business owners' number one complaint is employees. That one of the number one reasons that business owners sell their business is because they're fed up with employees. But
Right.
you can't have a business without employees. So we have to solve all these problems, Bill. So talk to me about that. The
Okay.
employer says one thing and the employee does something else.
So there's three parts of communication. The first one is what we just covered, the 4 color cards or the 4 thinking communication styles. The blue thinker is going to speak in a brief, clear, precise way, whereas the green people are going to speak in a step-by-step unfolding of the topic. The red speaker is going to speak in consideration of others and balancing the needs of others. That's red. Yellows just want overview and the conceptual framework. They want just the overview.
Okay.
Now, those are 4 different communication styles just in this first, part of the triangle.
Right.
All right. So the first part of the
I
triangle.
think I speak in blue.
You speak in blue. You are a brief, clear, precise information gal. That's for sure. So there's this. So that's the first part. Now, since you're asking me about how to increase employee performance or employee listening, what most employees don't have is and understand is it's not about solving the problem. It's about building enrollment and participation with the employee, working from the inside out, not waiting for the employer to give them a directive. So how do we build internal motivation? Well, the quickest way to build internal motivation is to find out what needs drive this individual. Is it financial security? Is it stability? Is it connection? What drives this person?
Is it tequila?
Tequila would be emotional safety. Thank you very much. Yes. And,
Emotional safety.
so there you go. And comfort. Yeah. There you go. What motivates this employee? And if we find out what the motive is, we now have access to the person's emotions. If I found out what what that person's needs are, if it's safety and security, then all I got to do is motivate my narrative and lead them that safety and security is going to be met with me. It's not going to be met with this other person.
But how does that change the fact that they hear instructions differently than what the employer is communicating?
So that gets us into the third prong.
Okay. See, I jumped ahead.
You jumped a little ahead. What happens is that the person has a belief or a bias that gets in the way of listening. So I could tell my 13-year-old something, and they are only hearing like 1 or 4 words. And it's not because they're not listening. It's because their bias or their belief is sitting in the way, and their bias and their belief is, I want to, as a boy, get back to my computer game. So I'm only going to listen to every 4th word that my dad says, because it's funner to play computer games than it is to listen to my dad or do something he asks.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old and I have to tell her the same thing. Pick up your toys, pick up your toys, pick up your toys, like 20 times before she picks up her toys.
Okay,
Now,
so let's use your 9-year-old as a motivator right now. I'm going to give you some parenting coaching, but being an employer and employees is very much like parenting. So this is going to translate directly. All right.
well, I'll
So
tell you real quick what I did, and you tell me if this is the right thing. I incorporated a chart that lists all the things that she needs to do without being told. Get dressed, brush your teeth, eat your food, pick up your toys, make your bed. If she
Yeah.
does those, and she gets a sticker next to each one. She gets a
Yeah.
sticker for so many days in a row, she gets a reward.
Okay. And how well is that going?
Pretty well. It's actually working pretty well.
All right. So she's following the rules.
For the most part, yes.
Great. And
We
so
do
she's
have our down days.
see, that's why I asked, how's that working, right? See what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's called a compliance chart. That's also called a traditional performance evaluation. I can get my performance evaluation by doing these tasks, and I'm
Right.
going to get my gold star, either 1 to 10. I just rewrote one of these performance evaluations for a Toyota dealership. So it's how do you write the performance evaluation so they're motivated from the inside and they're not fully motivated from the outside. The outside thing gets to be the whipped cream on top of the pie or the cherry on top of the ice cream, but the joy is in doing the task. See, right now she doesn't have joy in doing she may not have joy doing the task.
Oh, she definitely doesn't.
So that means when she realizes that she gets to rebel against the chart, and that's called age 12, 13, 14, 15, when they realize that they're following your leadership and doing the things you're said, that you really actually can't supervise them as much and the bribe doesn't work anymore, that's when the rebellion comes. So
what's a better approach?
that's my gal. See that now? See, this is that. By the way, this is the longer session that we could do on this one, because this one's really, really important to me too, because you want your kid to do things internally because it's their challenge, not externally because you're using a bribe. It doesn't mean that we can't incentivize people to do things, and incentives are to be used as the cherry on top of the cake, especially if it's a collective incentive. So the collective incentive might sound like this. Here's the group. Here's what needs to take place on the sales team in the car dealership. When the entire sales team reaches this number, the entire sales team gets to go to Hawaii or whatever the reward is. You do not set up individual performance pieces inside a business. You set up collective performance pieces. So the entire team is working collectively to get there. So I did this with an international company, and they had a different manager from each different country in Europe and throughout the world, and they wanted to increase the knowledge and the wisdom of their employees. It was a tech company, and they all know that it's a lot cheaper to train somebody than to hire a new person, much cheaper. So we want to train that person. Well, what are we going to train them on? Well, and how are we going to evaluate the training? So every manager got this training sheet that was similar to your STAR thing, but it was based on the group getting there versus the individual getting there.
So how do you do that with a 9-year-old though? It's an individual.
Good. As an individual, it sounds like this. Care for your teeth looks like brushing it. Can you say that back to me? Huh? You mean I don't have to do that? You don't have to do anything, honey. But we're working on caring for your teeth. My teeth are fine. Well, we're going to work on care. Can you say the word care? Care looks like teeth that are brushed. Can you say that back to me? Care looks like teeth. Because now you're trying to get her in touch with her own self-care, not you're policing her behavior. Because right now it's out here. And this is why all those people are selling their businesses, by the way, because they keep trying. I harp on them. I don't want to fire them because I don't want to hire somebody new and I don't want to retrain somebody new. They're good enough. But I'd rather sell the company rather than it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, oh please. Anyway.
So care for your toys, right?
And care for your toys. Yeah. And here's how we care for the space. And here's how safety looks like in the space. Safety for the space looks like your toy in the toy box. That's what safety for the space looks like. Consideration for mom, consideration for dad looks like the stuff off the floor in the toolbox. Say that back to me. So if I care for the space, it looks like the toys off the floor into the toy box. Thank you for hearing me. Would you be willing to do that now? She'll ruffle a little bit, but go like, but we're doing it for caring for the space. She goes, oh, like she's got to learn that she's in relationship to you, not that you're her slave. As if she doesn't think that right now, because part of her thinks that she's your slave. We want to do some
not just mine, mommy, daddies, and nannies.
And nannies, right. Right. And we've got to train her into a collaborative, cooperative mindset that she's one person that pulls her part or does her part inside the space. Now,
great. I'm going to try this. And I'll report back to you, Coach.
That's what I like to hear.
So for the employees, kind of the same thing, right?
That's right. I got to build internal investment inside this employee where they see what their part is. And then I've got to work on acknowledgement that is specific. That is so valuable.
And that's very hard for entrepreneurs because most entrepreneurs are like a bull in a china cabinet, right? And they don't really understand it. They don't take the time to understand it or the time to do it. So that's probably something best left to the human resource manager.
Yeah, it just depends on the level of interaction that employee has with their direct report. Right. And the HR person can formalize those kinds of systems, which is really important because you want to do that for various different employment, hiring, firing, promotion. And you want your salaries based on time, but also that there's this piece in it that they're working on their internal professional development as they are spending time with you.
So what's the biggest tip that you can give to entrepreneurs that don't necessarily have a human resource department? Because even the ones that do have human resource departments still really have the same issues, many of them. So
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you don't have a human resources department, what you really want to do is do it's called just-in-time coaching.
Okay.
And just-in-time evaluation. So what happens is a just-in-time coaching piece means, hey, listen, I noticed you doing this thing this way. I feel excited because I like the quality in which you did that. Okay. So that's a moment of acknowledgement. Now you got to do the other side too. Listen, I saw what you're doing. I feel disappointment. It doesn't meet the need for cleanliness just to sweep the pile of dirt to the corner. What cleanliness would look like is putting it in a dish, a pan and throwing it away, throwing it in the garbage can, not just doing that. Right. Mm. So we do just-in-time coaching as an entrepreneur because we can't necessarily get caught up in heavy HR experiences. And then at the end of the day, it's very easy to check in with ourselves or check in with the person. Here's one thing Joe did that was really good today that I liked. And here's one thing that Joe did today that I didn't like.
Mm-hmm. So
and then you're keeping track of that.
So when an owner gives a task, articulates a task, and the employee hears it opposite, what causes that? The
You're making
employee
my
says
day.
it one way,
All right. So,
and the employer says it one way, and the employee hears it a different way.
okay. So there's three major sentences that people need to capture and
So we're
use
back to threes.
with abundance. Here's the sentences. Sentence number one: mind reading is overrated. Inside your mind as an entrepreneur, stop thinking that they can read your mind. Mind reading is overrated.
No, not mind reading, articulate. So if a business owner articulates something, and then the employee completely does the opposite or thinks the opposite.
Right.
Go ahead.
Same sentence. Mind reading is overrated. I said something to a person. I think in my mind that they understood this. That's the mind reading part. I think they understood that. I
Right.
am thinking that. Here's the second sentence. And try not to crack up too much. Message sent is not message received unless they repeat it back to you. Message sent is not message received unless the person repeat it back to you.
Yeah,
So
let's put
first
that
off,
in the comments. Message sent is not message received unless they repeat it back to you. We're
that's
gonna put
right.
that in the Facebook comments. Now, I do have my team repeat it back to me.
So
But I tell you, then you're all day repeating things back and forth.
not necessarily, because after you get good, after you ask them to repeat back about a dozen things,
Right.
they get a sense that you're going to ask the damn question. So they're sitting on pins and needles listening to you now a lot more effectively. Let me say it this way. You're training them to be a good listener as a leader. Would you? And the way I ask it is really compassionately. Here's the words exactly. Would you be willing to tell me what you've heard me say? That's the most effective narrative.
Would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say?
Right. Now, here's the third step of this process. Whatever comes out of their mouth next, here's what you say next. Thank you. I have more. That's the next sentence that comes out of the leader's mouth. Why are we thanking them? Because even if they get it wrong, they are answering your question. Would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say? Monkeys eat glue. Thank you. I have more. Why? Because they didn't hear a damn thing I just said. So I'm going to give them a second opportunity. I'm not going to say that's not what I said. I'm just going to say thank you. I had more because I want them to be safe in listening.
Gotcha.
I want them to have safety.
You don't want them to be petrified that they're going to say the wrong thing.
And they're going to get hammered.
And they shut down and they can't listen.
That's right. Then they can't listen. Then the next time they go, oh my God, I better remember what she's going to say, because they're waiting for the hammer to come on the other side. So with your daughter, by the way, it's the same thing. Would you be willing to tell me what you've heard me say? Now, with my now 18-year-old son, when he was like 15, I came into his room one day. He's playing computer. I said, Aiden, I'm doing laundry. Would you be willing to put the clothes that are on the floor into your basket? Because I'm doing laundry. He goes, yeah, Dad, I got it. Watch my next sentence. Would you be willing to tell me what you heard me say? This is what he said next, that I have to clean my room. Thank you. I have more. I'm doing laundry and I need those clothes in that basket. Could you just say that part back? Oh, that's all you need is the clothes in the basket? He literally did it right then. Because
because go ahead.
He was thinking, I have to clean my whole room, big project. I'm thinking like, I could care less about how dirty your room is. I'm trying to get the laundry done. And is message sent, message received? No. Is, can I get him to hear me? Mind reading?
Because everybody's so busy, right? And there's so many thoughts in everyone's head.
That's right.
So just when you think you're communicating to them, they might not be listening because Maybe
Yeah.
what just happened at their house that morning. Maybe just, they just received a phone call, right? A
Oh,
million
but
things.
wow, wow. I'm really glad you added all those things because that's creating the sensitivity or the empathy that's needed for the
Hmm.
listener. The listener has crap going on between their ears. They are not waiting for you as an owner to give them a direction. They aren't. They're not. They're thinking about their next step, the thing
Hmm.
that they need to get done. They're thinking about their sick kid at home. They're thinking about their car payment, whatever the heck they're thinking about. They're not thinking about what's coming out of your mouth.
Hmm.
Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. They're not even thinking about that at all. So this is one way to get the communication to go better between employees and the employers.
Great.
You're training them to listen to you.
So, we're definitely going to have you back on the show again because when someone wins the election, rather than having
That's
Trump
right.
or Biden,
That's right.
last time when Trump beat Hillary, you have friends who stopped talking to friends
Yeah, they
because
did.
they were maybe a Trump supporter and those friends
That's right.
wanted Hillary, and family
That's right.
members stopped talking to family members. And it's ridiculous. You know what? It's ridiculous. You should not lose your friends over the election. You should not lose your family members over the
That's right.
election.
That's
So
right.
we'll have you back on again
Yes.
to help people mourn, to help people,
Well, yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you said that. There's a
and to
group of
help
people that are gonna.
communicate.
That's right. There's going to be a group of people that are going to need to learn how to mourn something, and there's
Right.
going to a group of people that are going to be celebrating something, and they've also got to. If we're working on a very primary sentence for us as the United States, here it is. It's a very simple sentence, but we got to get our butts back to it. It's one nation under God, whoever God is for you, indivisible. See that last part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stop doing that noise. You cannot have a divisive narrative. Now, there's a lot of reasons why it became divisive over the last 30 years, but we've got to undo those things that have made it become divisive. And
Right.
that allows voting to take place across party lines. Because right now it can't be done that way, because what winds up happening is well, this is a longer discussion, but the main thing that you're requesting of me is how to heal or restore a national narrative of inclusion, and as well as a family narrative of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
If
I've seen friendships, lifelong
yes,
friendships break up
break up.
because of the election, and they're still not friends again. I've
Yeah,
seen, families break up because of who
that's
won the
right.
election. It's not worth it, people.
It's not
It's
worth it.
not worth it.
No, no.
All right. So what's some of the biggest, because we have a few minutes left. What's some of the biggest mistakes, communication mistakes you see people make, whether it's entrepreneurs, whether that's parents, whether that's priests, whomever? What's the biggest mistakes that you see people make, and how to avoid those?
The first mistake, that's the biggest, I would say the biggest mistake, but it takes a little work to get there, is that we need to adopt a sentence: empathy before problem solving.
Like I said earlier, have empathy because you don't know what happened to that person before they
What's
walked in the door, right?
That's correct. So
Right.
if somebody didn't do something, like an employee didn't do something, the first question isn't why didn't you do what I told you? The first question actually needs to be is, I feel concerned. I need some understanding
Mm-hmm.
about what got in the way of you doing what I asked.
Mm-hmm.
That is empathy before problem solving. I
Right.
don't want the answer. What I want is, I want to know what's in the way, because the company might be putting obstacles in front of this person.
Mm-hmm.
You told them to do this thing, but there's 5 other things and other people that were in his way to do the thing that you want him to do. And he or she just picked something different.
Mm-hmm.
So empathy before problem solving is one of the key things. Now,
That's a great tip.
the the next thing the slight thing that needs to change, Michelle, and we can go into this next time for sure, because it's going to be a part of our family restoration or our friend restoration or our national restoration dialogue, because that's something I'm very, very, very interested in, is we've got to redefine empathy to something that works better. So let me share with everybody Bill Stierle's definition for empathy and when it occurs, so we can start setting a standard here. So for me, empathy only occurs when a feeling word and a need word are connected and then agreed upon. I got to get these three parts together. Here's this feeling word. I feel frustrated. I have a need for support. Support looks like this. Is that correct? The person says yes, then we're in our body. Otherwise, we're trying to problem solve support rather than experience what kind of support is most important. Because this is the problem with the debate last night. There was no empathy on the stage. There was sympathy that moved from Biden to Americans. There's a lot of people that have died upon there, but there wasn't any empathy the way I would describe it.
Right.
Which would, Americans are feeling scared and they have a need for safety. And safety looks like wearing masks, social distancing, contact tracing. That's the best we've got for this particular task called stopping the spread of a virus. Now, I'll be glad to have a debate with anybody about the effectiveness of certain masks over certain things, about the size of the virus particle in reference to the size of the water droplet that the virus is riding on, and how the mask is for the water droplet. It's not for the virus. I'll be glad to have any narrative that people would like to have. But the important thing is empathy before problem solving, because once we get on to, we want to see the numbers look like this. Because right now, New York, New Jersey, their numbers are the lowest. Why? Because they bit the bullet early and they said, we are not going there. And oh, by the way, you other people from the different visitors, please don't come here. Right. And if you do, we're going to quarantine you. I went to Hawaii. I had to spend 14 days in quarantine. 14 days. Wow. 14 days before I could start my project. So I had to be there for 5 weeks. I know that you're really feeling sorry for me right now, but I had to be there for 5 weeks, where normally I would have just been there for 2.
Right.
You know, but the quarantine was to meet the need for safety and protection for the people. So I didn't affect the environment, and they wanted to have certainty on it. They wanted to have trust on it.
Right.
And if I broke quarantine, it was a $5,000 fine. That's a punishment.
Why you didn't break quarantine.
That would be one of the reasons why I didn't break quarantine. But that would be my external. Great question. That's my external motivation. Right. My internal motivation is to meet the need for care, safety, and protection for the other people living on this island.
Right.
So now my integrity is really high. So I ain't going anywhere. So I didn't go anywhere. You know. Okay. So anyways, right. I hope that was helpful. That was a lot of fun though.
That's very helpful. Any last minute tips for our listeners?
Oh my gosh. I just want to celebrate and feel grateful about being on the show with you today. It's just been a really good thing. I can roll out as many tips as you like. I can do a 7-week dissertation if you like, but this has been great. This is really great. I really enjoyed this process. This is really
What neat. Was Bill Stierle like as a little boy? Were you a conflict? Did you resolve conflicts as a little boy, or did you create them?
I did both. I was more the creator of the conflict. And I did spend time in the resolution of the conflict. I was in the middle of 8 kids, number 4 of 8.
Oh, no wonder you do what you do. to be in the middle of 8 kids.
That's right. You gotta be able to speak some words, man, to get your words in elsewise. Yeah, there you go. All right.
All right. Well, great. Thank you so much, Bill, for being on the show. We loved having you. We'll definitely bring you on after November 3rd.
Perfect.
And maybe you should reach out to the Biden team.
Thank you. Awesome. Will do. Glad to.
So thanks to all of our listeners for joining us on another episode of Exit Rich. And make sure you go to exitrichpodcast.com so you can get more information of how you can get in touch with Bill Stierle. And Bill Stierle, you do consulting for large Fortune 500 companies, correct?
That's right, as well as the individual coaching and the executive coaching to make peace show up where conflict is, for sure.
Wonderful. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. I miss seeing your face, and hopefully we'll be able to share a stage again soon when
That's
all of this
right.
is over and live stages come back.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to those days. Exactly. All right, Michelle, more to come, and looking forward to the next time.
Thank you so much.
All right,
It's been a
thank you.
pleasure.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Exit Rich podcast. Don't forget to check out Michelle Seiler Tucker's Build to Sell Blueprint books and Exit Rich, along with more blogs, videos, and resources at exitrichpodcast.com. Be sure to connect with Michelle on Facebook or LinkedIn and stay tuned for her next episode by subscribing in your favorite podcast player.